All right, welcome. Hope you guys could take a seat, find a seat wherever it's available. Fellows are going to be sitting in the front, so please, fellows, stay in the front. Also, mentors, if you could find a seat somewhere in the middle. If you guys want to come take the available seats up front, you could do so. This screening is being live streamed through Zoom. So we're actually right now, parents, family members are watching you guys. So say hi. Which camera is on? I think it's this camera over there. Yeah, Tony, which camera? This camera? That's the camera? All right, say hi to everybody at home. All right, everybody at home, just whenever you want to see that camera, just click on it and it goes full screen. When we go to the videos, the stories that the students produce, you just click on the other screen, you'll watch everything in full screen. So a little bit of tip there. All right, perfect. So I guess we're ready to get started. How many are excited to watch the show tonight? Before we start, we would like to play a video. So for those of you who do not know what Student Reporting Labs is, we want to show you what we do year round. It's just not something that we do in the summer. We do this throughout the year. So let's play.
Student journalist Shreya Telepragada reports in this story produced during NewsHour's Student Reporting Labs Summer Academy, where teens from around the country come together to hone their journalism, film, and storytelling skills.
You just kind of underestimate yourself and your gut feelings, but then when you really do the research and you find all the facts, it's an injustice.
This week in Seattle, Radioactive is partnering with Student Reporting Labs to help train the two hosts of season 4 on Our Minds.
You really can't tell what a person's story is until you go up and ask them, who are you? What do you do? What are your dreams? Everybody has such a unique story to tell.
Our Student Reporting Labs on Our Minds podcast from our teenage hosts, Bree and James, talked recently with the Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, about his mental health as a teenager and how to create tech-free zones to limit time on social media.
I haven't met a single person who's figured it all out. I don't think people are having these struggles because somehow your generation is deficient in willpower.
Last year, more than half of U.S. teens said it would be difficult to give up social media, including TikTok and YouTube. The latest episode of our Student Reporting Lab series, Moments of Truth, tells the story of one teen named Connor who faced this dilemma head-on with Instagram.
I had kind of a lack of self-control. Like, I would repeatedly check and check and check. The accessibility that the internet has to kind of enable that really did not help.
From PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs, this is Teacher Reporting Labs.
Made by educators for educators.
We do it all, you know. We teach the whole child. It's a very holistic approach.
I'm a high school senior at Monte Vista High School in Danville, California, and I recently got to interview 4-time NBA champion Stephen Curry.
And you've long been a champion for women's basketball with your underrated and select camps supporting Stanford and Berkeley's women's basketball. Why is that important to you?
The women's game, the women's experience needs champions. It needs awareness. It needs resources.
What challenges have you faced as a young woman and Democrat running for office in conservative Texas?
In Texas, the average Texas State House race costs maybe between $200,000 up to $500,000. So money is challenging. And then being a woman of color who is young asking for money, oh, that's extremely difficult.
It's important that young people participate in storytelling and journalism, even if they don't know if they're interested in it, because I think about how many stories go untold.
I love meeting people and I love opening new stories and learning. So SRL has been the door that opened so many more doors for me.
Such an amazing year with all of the students who have participated and created content that has gone on the PBS NewsHour, as you have seen. This is our 10th Student Academy. You guys are we're a decade old in the Student Academy. Student Reporting Labs began in 2009. We got our grant. 2010, we really got going. And we brought all the teachers. We were in 6 pilot sites around the country to start off. in broadcast journalism programs, and we brought the teachers to Washington, D.C. to start to develop a curriculum, because this was really an experiment. We were just trying to see what happens when a news organization connects with high school journalism programs. So we brought the teachers to Washington, D.C. for, I think, like 2 years. And as we were doing that, we'd have these great conversations about how to really engage students to do journalism. And we were like, oh, we really want to ask a student. Like, let's ask a student. How do you, kind of engage students who don't want to be there, or who are just, put into the class? Let's ask a student. There were no students there. So the next year, each teacher brought a student. And that was how the Student Academy grew, because we realized it's so important to involve students in every step of the way. And this has been an amazing experience. Let's show you what this week has been like for the fellows.
At the SRL Academy, I've explored an entirely new field of journalism that I had relatively little experience coming in, working with a camera and working with audio, and giving an entirely new audience awareness about issues that I care about.
Tell me about your background in politics.
I feel like I'm learning more how to put a story together and how to make all the elements come together with B-roll and audio and like our interviews, and learning how to make all those things come together as one.
I think the skills that I've learned here at the Academy are really versatile and can be applied to a lot of things like leadership and just working with other people.
Yeah. Here.
Our mentors have been amazing. They all clearly care about what they're doing. They're clearly trying to brainwash us into becoming journalists, which I guess is okay. They have all been very, very helpful. This academy is full of a bunch of really wonderful people. In the moments when we're working, we're able to do so really politely and seamlessly, and in the moments where we're having fun, I mean, it's just a great time.
The mentors are a great help. They definitely taught me things that I would have never figured out myself. I love Victor. Love you, Victor.
We got to visit the studio where they were filming the PBS News Weekend. That was amazing, really stunning.
The equipment here is probably some of the best I've used.
Nick Schifrin was a phenomenal speaker and was just such an inspiring person to meet and talk to. His story was so motivating and really taught me a lot about storytelling and really just how to empathize with other people and connect to others, especially while interviewing.
Try and approach the person you're profiling or the island you're profiling with that empathy, right?
Quiet on set! Our story was about the Washington Groves. Interviewing them was probably one of the most exciting parts of my journalism career.
Our interview subject was named Yao. He was amazing. So interviewing him was like looking for gold in a palace. I mean, it's just everywhere. You're gonna find some.
It's really great to share our different backgrounds in journalism and just learn about everybody's different experiences and kind of bond over our shared passions for the field.
I definitely made a lot of connections with the people around me. Us being able to work on projects like this and being able to connect is really a new experience.
We went to the park and everyone sat down on the grass and we all had pizza together, and we played Duck Duck Goose. Everyone was just having a lot of fun.
At first, I was nervous about meeting everyone and seeing how my group would be in person, but then I got really excited working with my group because they're so smart and just fun to be around.
I love you, PBS. Love you.
I don't know my dream career yet, but I know almost certainly it's going to involve writing and storytelling, and if there's anything the Academy done, it's helped me with that.
That's a wrap!
Ooh, I have chills. I want to shout out our BTS, our behind the scenes crew, Jordan and Maggie. Woo! Led by Rawan. Woo! A huge thanks to all of WETA and the NewsHour and everyone who's participated, especially the SRL team. So if you are on the SRL team, can you please stand up? Huge round of applause. We have some folks watching at home, Emily T, Emily Dobbs, Bridget, and Chris. So hey. I also just wanted to shout out our funders. So the Evelyn Davis Foundation, the Berlinski Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, CPB is in the house. Where's Jen? Woo! And a huge hats off to Victor, who organized. That's all I can say. And I will pass it.
Thank you, Leah. And of course, we couldn't do any of this without the leadership of Leah Clapman, Executive Director of Student Reporting Labs. And of course, all the invited mentors from different organizations and from WETA. So we got Erin from WNET, Executive Producer. Where are you, Erin? There she is. Corey, back there, Corey. We got Addison. Where's Addison? Linda. Mohammed. Where's Mohammed? Krista. Ashley. And also the counselor we had for this week, Beverly. Where are you, Beverly? It takes a team to make this happen, but tonight you're gonna see the work that these students did, which is amazing. So let's start with the first story.
Something I deeply believe in, that everyone, no matter where they may live or who they may be, should have access to the resources they need to vote.
16-year-old Jocelyn Gould of Northern Virginia is part of a youth-run organization called the Center. She helped introduce a voting bill in the U.S. Senate earlier this year.
The High School Voter Empowerment Act, what it essentially does, it designates public high schools in America as voter registration sites. So that makes it easier for students to be able to register to vote where they already are, at school.
Her civic organizing began in middle school after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
So this field right here is where we had the walkout in 8th grade. My advisory classroom was just back there, and a lot of kids' advisory classrooms were in the trailers here. We all walked out and walked around the track. We gave little speeches first with a megaphone, and a lot of kids had little signs that we were bringing out. So I had to lug like a big poster with me to school that day. But yeah, it's a great memory, great memory.
Jocelyn helps hold voter registration drives and promotes conversation between teens and policymakers.
We have about 800 members, which is a lot. So you can understand that it's a lot of work to organize, and everything that we do is run by teenagers. It feels like we're all in it together.
Over the years, Jocelyn has struggled with anxiety.
Having to give big speeches in front of large groups of people about things that are super important, it stresses me out a lot. But I have an amazing support system. I just think about, if my dad was there, what would he say? If my dog was there, what would he do? You know, and I know to take deep breaths. I know to avoid caffeine beforehand, or else I'll get the jitters. You know, it does take a little bit of convincing. I have to tell myself, you know, you could stay home and hide, or you could go out and maybe 40,000 more people are gonna have the right to vote tomorrow.
What are some of the challenges you face when speaking to people almost triple your age?
I definitely have to convince myself that I deserve to be there. You know, sometimes you feel out of place as a young person walking in the Senate, and I definitely think about my outfits and how I'm presenting myself when I do that, because it is so rare for young people to get involved. These issues that they're working on when it comes to education and gun safety, these issues affect us so deeply as young people that we should be the ones who have a seat at the table and get to talk about these things, not just adults.
Why do you think it's important to vote?
When you cast that ballot, your opinions are going towards a decision that's deciding what laws are going to be passed in the next few years and who is going to be leading your country.
Jocelyn works with local candidates on legislation that affects teenagers.
The people leading local politics are the ones making the The law is about what's really happening directly where you live. Your vote matters even more because there are less people voting. So if you feel like your one vote doesn't matter, in local elections, it really, really does.
Let me make a wish real quick.
In 15 years, I'd hope to be serving in the Virginia House of Representatives. I think that's really what would fulfill me in life.
What do you hope for the future of democracy?
I hope it's strong. Of course, I hope we have historic voter turnout rates. I hope that more and more young people and people of all ages are getting involved in politics. I hope that a group of teenagers barges into my office and demands to speak with me. That's what I want.
For the PBS News Student Reporting Labs, I'm Imani Muhammad in Reston, Virginia.
All right, team one. Team one, come up.
You guys could introduce yourself, name and where you're from to start off. It's an amazing team.
My name is Anna Inskeep, and I'm from DC.
My name is David Moon, and I'm from Leander, Texas.
My name is Imani Muhammad, and I'm from New Jersey.
Oh, and I'm Linda Lawson, one of the members from Washington, D.C.
All right, so we asked you guys to think about 2 questions. I think they were, what was the highlight of this week? Or what is something that you learned that you're going to bring back into either your journalism program or into the work that you're going to be doing?
So the highlight of my week was doing the interview, because I feel like that day, even though I got to learn about Jocelyn, which you saw, and it was like really interesting to like get to know her and like just get to know her as a person as well as her political work. But I feel like I really learned not only how to communicate, but how to work with a team, because like David was doing the filming and so was Anna. And then afterwards, we just like really bonded, because I feel like it showed that journalism is not only an individual experience, it's a team experience. And that's how you share stories with the world.
For me this week, I probably learned a lot about post-production, about how to keep things clean, neat, and organized, especially whenever we're importing files and such, so nothing is missing. I definitely learned how to color grade and color correct certain clips correctly, thanks to Linda, thank you. And Chris was a big help too. He helped me a lot when it came to doing certain shortcuts and such. So yeah, a lot of editing tips.
I probably learned how to take a long interview and like a long transcript, probably like 45 minutes, maybe like 6 pages, and cut it down to like the very small amount of sound bites that you actually need.
So we're going to take 2 questions from the audience per story. So does anyone have a question for these guys about their story?
Linda gave us like the opportunity to do it, and we actually were deciding between 2 stories at like a few days before we were supposed to film. So we didn't really know what we were gonna do yet, but it just all fell into place. Like Jocelyn was like really available, and we were really interested in her work. So we just all decided that as a team to like pursue this and interview her.
How did you guys figure out where you were gonna do it and like when?
So Jocelyn was actually very responsive towards us. We communicated a lot through texting and such, and we set up times. And the pre-interviews went pretty well too. Yeah. And it was all pretty much like it was like Legos and bricks. It all just kind of came together. We all decided to meet at her house and then set up interviews there. We gave her a gist of what the questions were gonna be. And then she had some extra time, so we went out to get more B-roll and get some other interviews as well. So it was all just kind of easy going.
Thank you, Team 1. All right, now let's watch the second story.
A lot of areas like these, there's so many around my house and around like the Northern Virginia area. So go around with my family and my sister, look at the different animals, and there's a really cool area nearby called Scott's Run where I just went last week with some of my friends. We kind of hiked around, really absorbed the nature. It was super fun.
So many other animals.
Yeah.
Vihan has had an interest in the environment around him since his childhood. This awareness sparked not only from personal research, but his family background as well.
I would say it all starts kind of with my heritage, where I come from. My mom is from Australia and my dad is from India. Seeing the air pollution in India and seeing the wildfires in Australia, at first I didn't really understand what that meant or why that had a bigger impact than just what I saw. It was definitely these experiences along with like the research I did afterwards that informed me and grew my interest in climate change and kind of drew me to combat it myself.
This passion led Vihan to become more active in the fight against climate change, where he founded the nonprofit WETA.
WETA stands for Youth Climate Action Team. It's an organization that I started with a few different teens from around my area. I proposed the idea of writing a picture book. When I was writing the book along with my co-authors, one of the biggest things we wanted to do was provide it free of cost to schools around the country. We did read-alouds at our libraries in our area. I heard you'd like to learn about climate change. And then after that, we tried to send one to every single state in the United States.
The children's book, A Turtle's Climate Adventure, walks the young reader through an alternate reality of what society would look like if we continue to ignore climate change, teaching them how to advocate for change and to help combat the effects in order for future generations to thrive.
What motivated me to get through that was kind of helping the next generation be more informed and empowered to drive change themselves. That kind of empowers others to do the same. Fighting it now is super important as youth because it's going to affect us when we're adults.
For PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs, I'm Roy Fitzpatrick in McLean, Virginia.
All right, Team 2, come up. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello? Yes, okay. My name's Rory. I'm from San Diego, California.
My name's Victoria. I'm from Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey.
My name is Dermot. I'm from Bethesda, Maryland.
And I'm Corey Kipps. I was the Team 2's mentor. They did a phenomenal job from the pre-interview to picking the storyline to getting their own B-roll.
So there are 2 questions, right, that you guys could pick from. Tell us which were the answers to those.
My favorite thing I learned this week was learning about the scripting process. It took us like 4 hours to cut down an hour's worth of quotes and interview footage into like 3 minutes of quotes, and yeah.
So I learned a lot about a more efficient editing process. I learned skills and just overall shortcuts that I'll definitely use and apply them when I'm outside of the academy. So, you know, I really learned that and that really helped me as well.
So the highlight of the SRL Academy for me would have to be when we did the boat tour along the Potomac River. It was like our second day at the academy. We all didn't really know each other. We were getting to know each other, and I feel like it was such like a special time for all of us. I feel like we bonded a lot, and I really got to know all of you, and I'm honored to be able to be here in the same room as you guys.
Questions for this team? You have one? Oh, one back there, hold on,
Yeah.
and then the other one up.
How did you get that tracking shot in the beginning where your subject is stepping on the rocks in the creek? That was cool.
So we had a gimbal attached to a phone, and it was kind of like holding it to the ground and like following his footsteps.
And so people could hear at home.
What was the challenge you faced when creating your story?
So when we did the pre-interview, we got to know Vihan pretty well. But the trouble we had was kind of focusing on more of like an empathetic route to go on rather than more like scientific and factual. So we really had to like put our heads together and figure out a way to kind of like crack open that door a little bit and kind of get to know him a little more and like specifically why he's joined the fight against climate change. And I feel like we did that pretty well. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 2. All right, on to the next story.
And then it's just a matter of, we'll start to pitch these lines.
They're all my boys, Sean and Andy and Joe, and I wouldn't be here without them. And they all teach me something different, and I appreciate them so much.
Brianna Castelli is the newest addition to the crew of stonemasons at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. At 24 years old, she's the same age as head stonemason Joe Alonzo when he began working at the cathedral in 1985. The team is repairing damage from the 2011 earthquake.
So you basically cut out the damaged stone?
I'm very glad she'll be a part of that. Once we're gone, here you go, and then here you go, and now here you go, and that's how it works, you know, passing on your trade, your knowledge to someone else, to the next generation.
To make yourself obsolete as a teacher, that's the goal.
Castelli discovered stonemasonry while working in a coffee shop.
There was this guy that came in and he was all covered in dust and I was so taken by him, I don't know why. Something clicked in my brain and I was like, I gotta do this.
She inscribes stones she carves with her mason's mark, which stonemasons use to identify their work.
So I love the physicality of that. And it's just kind of like me putting my small slice in of their masterpiece, you know?
New generations also leave an impact on the cathedral by how they change the story it tells its almost 500,000 annual visitors and worshippers.
Cathedrals are so permanent. It reflects the different eras and different styles in history. It's a Gothic, ancient-looking cathedral, but it is also, in my opinion, distinctly American.
Last year, the National Cathedral installed new stained glass windows representing the ongoing struggle for racial justice. These now and forever windows replaced stained glass windows commemorating the Confederate generals Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson.
Taking down some of these monuments is important because you're really trying to tell the truth, because a lot of these monuments glossed over the history. You saw what happened in Charlottesville, and right after that happened is when the cathedral made the decision that that needed to change.
Poet Elizabeth Alexander wrote the poem American Song to accompany the now and forever windows.
How did we get here and where do we go?
Stone carvers at the John Stevens shop in Rhode Island inscribed stone tablets with the poem. The stonemason team at the National Cathedral will be permanently installing those tablets below the windows. The cathedral calls itself a house of prayer for all people, and they hope this installation tells a more inclusive and honest history of America.
It is a beautiful limestone building, but it's also standing for something, not necessarily avoiding the past, but like just getting better from it, which is, it's really neat to be a part of.
The cathedral still has room for future installations for the generations to come.
I don't know what the big thing is going to be 100 years from now, but there is space in this cathedral to reflect whatever is going on at that time. And that's what cathedrals, you know, are supposed to do, right? They tell stories in stone and glass and metal and all of that.
For PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs, I'm Bella Major in Washington, D.C.
All right, Team 3, come up.
My name is Joel Aguilar. I'm here in Arlington, Virginia.
My name is Bella Major, and I'm from Rockville, Maryland.
My name's Sanaa Stokes, and I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
And I'm Addison Godfrey. I was a co-mentor for Team 3 along with Chris, who is on the live stream. So I can speak for both of us when I say we're really proud. Do you have your answers ready for those 2 questions?
Yes,
you get
I
to pick
do.
one. Yep.
So one of the things that I learned that stand out to me was how to collaborate with a group. With a group, I was lucky to have my wonderful fellows and my wonderful mentors, and they taught me so much about how to really work with the group and allow all of our voices to be seen in such an amazing piece. And I feel like collaboration like that makes a story so much better.
For me, the best part of this week was truly learning how to immerse myself in the story, whether it be on the scaffold, getting to know Brianna and Joe better, or getting to know my fellow teammates better. I think we just really bonded and we learned more about our stories and their stories.
I'd say my favorite part was collaborating with my group and learning how to make a story come into one, and also like experimenting with video journalism, because I've been really used to doing audio journalism and podcasts. So this really pushed me and I learned a lot about B-roll and like taking videos. So that's been nice.
And 2 questions. Ooh.
Okay, I was going to ask if you're afraid of heights, but clearly you're not, because that just freaks me out. I was really struck in a couple places. You brought in footage from other sources, one from Charlottesville and one from the studio in Rhode Island. How did you decide to do that, and where did you find the footage?
So for the first question, we were all terrified of heights. It was petrifying, but so a philosophy that our mentor had, Chris, he would say all the time, you say cow, you see cow. So whenever they mentioned something like Charlottesville, we knew we had to have footage. It was just like, it would elevate the story. For where we got the footage, I believe we had like, Reuters, we had a subscription to, so we found, apparently we have a subscription to a bunch of different sites that have stuff like that we are allowed to use, so.
So I know that as a fellow, it's, if not your first time, one of your first times like working with this equipment, and you know, these cameras are expensive, you know, it's hard in general to get a subject in focus or keep your camera steady and not shaking. What was it like being up in the scaffolding, up really, really high up, and still managing all this equipment and still trying to get that B-roll and that good quality video?
So it was, off the bat, the reason why it was so terrifying is because, I mean, we had like thousands of dollars worth of equipment on our shoulder. It was really scary. I feel like after a while being up there, you kind of got used to it. And we started like seeing our shots and realizing like we're doing good work up here. And I'm so glad that after a while, like, the nerves didn't feel so bad. I'm very satisfied with our work up there. I feel like us as a whole, we got some really amazing footage.
All right, let's watch the next.
This is where people are laid to rest, and it's sacred space. Death reflects life, and the treatment of Black people in life is reflective of treatment of Black people in death.
In Washington, D.C., the Mount Zion and Female Union Band Society cemeteries have endured challenges, such as erosion and a lack of funding. At one point, developers almost built on this land.
And we're going to do 30-minute shifts.
But on days like Juneteenth, volunteers like high school student Brooke Talbot come to take care of the burial grounds.
A lot of times these stones are either unmarked or their family doesn't know about it, so nobody's coming out to, you know, help to like refurbish the graves.
One of those graves honors the life of a 7-year-old girl named Nanny. She is one of an estimated 8,000 to 10,000 people buried here. Some are known, many are not. It took years of research to figure out who she was.
She has been pretty popular at the cemetery since I started in 2019 because people leave toys and cards and food at her gravesite.
Lisa Fager is in charge of the foundation that oversees the burial grounds. She was the first to discover the remnants of a fire set on Nanny's grave last year.
Sad that somebody would vandalize the grave, but ironically, it's something so tragic became so beautiful with people coming together.
I think it's important that this place highlights the plight of African Americans in this country, but also the triumph that they have, that they, we came to this country in bondage, but we've risen so much.
Juliet Varga, who lives near the cemetery, started volunteering here in high school. She quickly realized there was more than just history, but also a community.
I think something that really drew me to the cemetery was the effort that was made to bring the people buried there to life.
The African American Burial Grounds Preservation Act was passed in 2023 with the intent of funding research into finding and preserving Black cemeteries nationwide.
A lot of cemeteries don't look like cemeteries anymore. They're under parking garages or buildings, particularly historic Black cemeteries.
This vault within the cemeteries was used as a stop on the Underground Railroad. Some people buried here were enslaved at nearby plantations, including Mount Vernon, the home of George and Martha Washington. To walk visitors through the history here, Varga created an online self-tour accessible by a QR code displayed around the cemetery.
Quickly, there were like 1,000 hits, and it was really cool to see that people were using it and hopefully learning from it.
The facts are there in their lives and in their deaths, and tell us the stories and the history that we need to remember so that we don't repeat it. And that's what Black cemeteries do. They complete the story.
For the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs, I'm Clara Beck.
All right, team, come up.
I'll introduce myself first. Hi, my name is Claire, and I'm from Chantilly, Virginia, which is like 30 minutes away from here.
My name is Stella St. Clair, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
My name is Cody Finnegan. I'm from Arlington, Virginia.
Hi, my name is Trinity Smith. I'm from New Fairfield, Connecticut. This week has been very, very interesting, and one of the things that I've learned is how to, one, work as a team. And we've been through a lot. We've seen things. We've made this. It's been such a great experience, and I love it.
I would say my favorite part of this academy has been the focus on community, getting teenagers together. It's not just an opportunity for one teenager to, produce media. It's an opportunity to make friends in a really short timeline. And there was a lot of time dedicated to also just having fun. So it was a really packed schedule, but there were so many moments where I felt so connected to my peers. We did that boat tour in Alexandria and just going out to restaurants to eat. It was a lot of fun. And like people said, journalism is a collaborative effort. So we definitely shed some tears today, knowing that we were, going home soon, but we'll stay in contact, I'm sure.
So at the SRL Academy, I finally learned how to use a camera for the first time. Thank you, Ashley. I always did print journalism for a while now, so I was really scared at first to try out broadcast journalism, but the mentors and staff here and also all the fellows here have been so supportive and so helpful. I've learned so much, and I'll definitely continue making great stories with SRL. I would also like to give a shout out to Lisa Fager, who is actually the executive director of Black Georgetown Foundation, and she's actually here with us right now. Throughout the process of interviewing her, I've learned so much about Black history. Although we weren't able to include all of it in the video, let me tell you, the interview was like an hour long, and we just had conversation over conversation about Black history. And I think I got more interested in the subject.
My favorite part of this week was obviously the process of creating the story and the story itself. I found our topic really interesting because it gave me a lot of insight on something I wasn't fully aware of, and I didn't know that things like that still existed. But all in all, my favorite part of this week was the people I met.
We'll cry later.
Before we answer questions, we would like to give a shout out to our wonderful mentors, Marie and Ashley. Without them, we really could not come this far.
Love to hear from Lisa what it was like to see the story, what your response was and your experience with the student reporters.
Well, what I thought was really sweet and I didn't know is that they interviewed someone else on Juneteenth. And that was really special because I didn't know that young lady, but I will find her. She's local. And I thought it was really sweet. I mean, we spent a lot of time together, 2 days, because they came to Juneteenth, and then we did an interview session, and it was like, the hottest day of the year. But I found us some indoor seating, and it was great. And I just thought they were wonderful. And I definitely see all four of them with a future in communications, journalism, for sure. And I also want to say that I love working with Marie, who is from my hometown. So I thought that was really weird, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I was like, no way. And Ashley was awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, we'll take 2 questions, yeah.
Hi, I was wondering, since this one was so history focused, what was your research process like, and how did you, what sources did you find to learn more about this subject before you got into the interview and on set?
So actually, Ashley was following Black Georgetown Foundation, and she saw a post on upcoming Juneteenth and the volunteering services there. After Ashley introduced the idea, we were like, we actually did a pre-interview with Lisa. I think I was in school and I was in journalism class, and we talked for 45 minutes about the history there. We got most of the sources from her. She had some really great information. And yeah, I think it was such a great experience learning all of the history.
What was it like being at the filming site, considering it is so historical and all that kind of stuff?
There were a lot of headstones that were moved to the side, and I didn't know if I was stepping on someone's grave or not, so I was really careful, and I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going? But it was super cool. We got to see the vault from the Underground Railroad, which was super cool. And I think it was just a great experience overall. Did have some nightmares about cemeteries afterwards, but overall, I think I've never been to a cemetery, so it was super cool.
People were buried 3 to 5 people deep there, so that was kind of an experience. You kind of felt like at all times you were stepping on people's graves. So that was a conversation we had as a group about how do we handle that. And some people were feeling like, well, isn't it disrespectful to set up tripods on someone's grave? But we came to the conclusion, I think, that we think they would be grateful that we were telling their story and bringing attention to it. It was also extremely hot.
99 degrees.
Yeah, really high quality cacaos. Yeah. Very unique spice from my hometown in China. My name is Yao Zhao. I'm the founder of 50 Hertz Tingly Foods. We sell premium Sichuan peppers, the tingly numbing spice from my hometown in China. The Sichuan pepper is super pretty. It's red and green, and when you go to the harvest, it smells amazing because the entire mountain smells that aroma.
Yao moved to America at age 23 to attend grad school.
And then when I went home for Chinese New Year, my mom was making a cucumber salad, and she finished it off with the green Sichuan pepper oil. And I had a taste, and I was like, wow, this is a flavor I've had since I was a kid, but I haven't had it for a long time. I brought a bottle back, and I added to my burger, pasta, and I thought, this is working. This is like a new flavor that can be explored.
After many years of living in the US with a visa that required him to work for one company, Yao was able to obtain a green card. This granted him the freedom to leave behind his old life as an economist and make his debut in the pepper market.
So I want to do something with my freedom. And I think that's the time when I had this entrepreneurial urge. My partner, he drizzled this on the pasta, and then he said, oh, he has never had this before. And he said, wow, it can go beyond Chinese food. I think that was the aha moment. I think there are so many unsung and unknown ingredients and flavors and sensations that could be explored. There was one woman, I think her name is Patricia. She said, I just got COVID and I lost my sense of taste. And the only thing I could taste is your Sichuan pepper oil. And she said, in the time that staying at home is the wise thing to do, your company and your product brought to me a sense of adventure.
Last year, Yao was able to travel back home to the mountains where Sichuan pepper grows. During his visit, he was able to interact with the farmers who harvest these unique peppers.
Last year, when I brought them the products, they could never have imagined their peppers and their produce being enjoyed in the US. So that was a very touching moment for me. Immigrants is a hot topic now, but the illegal or legal immigrants they do have is a drive. You know, that drive is so important to really create something innovative. So I really think if this country needs to be better facing the competition from China, from the rest of the world, it is how we can keep attracting immigrants into this country. I would tell my 5-year-old self, do not be afraid to explore what you want to do. When I was growing up in China, I was never encouraged to find what you are passionate about. Only when I came to the US, everyone is doing their own thing. From a young age, we should really always be thinking, what fits me, what I really want to do. You don't have to follow anyone's path. I'm the Sichuan pepper guy now. Like that's how I introduce myself. Like, hi, I'm the Sichuan pepper guy. Yeah, I want to be the Sichuan pepper guy. Yeah.
For PBS News Student Reporting Labs, I'm Jenny Marquez in Washington, D.C.
All right, Team 5, come up.
Hi, I'm Emily Yip. I'm from Holbrook, Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Gabriel Cohen, aka Gabe. I'm from Arlington, Virginia, right here.
I'm Jenny Marquez, and I'm from Sherman Oaks, California. It's been such a memorable experience, and I don't know, I can't pick like a single memory to really pick as my favorite. So I guess being able to collaborate with such an amazing, incredible, hardworking team has been such a memorable. Oh my, I can't even talk. Such a memorable part, and meeting so many amazing, talented student journalists and being able to bond with every single one of them, or at least try, because I talk to more than others, but you know. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this has also been an amazing experience. I didn't really know what to expect going into this. It was kind of last minute, if I'm going to be honest, but I have been just blown away. Yeah. It's been incredible. I mean, I'm serious. I feel like if I had anyone who's even remotely interested in journalism, if I was within like 2 degrees of separation with them, I would tell them you need to apply to this academy. It's just been awesome. And I think what I've learned in the past week is that when you're working by yourself, you can go all perfectionist on everything and try to get every single voiceover just right. Every single little zoom, it's got to end at like the exact right place. But when you're working as a group, sometimes you just have to roll with the punches. And even if you see something that's like slightly off, you just got to move on. That's really a skill.
There were so many awesome moments from this experience, but one of my favorite ones was the day 2 boat trip to Alexandria. I was able to bond with so many people, and it was super, super amazing. It reminds me of when I auditioned or whatever. I said, I want to meet new people and I want to challenge my social anxiety. And I think I really did that. And I was like, I'm super proud of myself. And like, but yeah, like we barely knew each other for even a day, so bonding over such a short time was super, super special. And to me, it showed that like SRL and PBS is not just video, it's not just editing, it's not just camera. It's a community that doesn't exist in just inside a bubble. It's like it's a community, it's friendship, it's companionship, it's fellowship. It's so many different things, and it's super incredible to not only me but also everyone I've met. Quick like shout out to the entrepreneur we interviewed, Yao Zhao. He said he'd be watching this. If he is, hi Yao, we love you. But yeah, and we also want to thank our mentors. They've been so incredible. They haven't even introduced themselves.
I'm Becky. I'm from SRL.
I'm Erin. I'm from WNET in New York.
Through that. Okay, yes, question.
I'd like to applaud all of you for excellent work. It's just really amazing to see all of you students come together, and it's inspiring as a parent and a father, and just seeing you kids rally and just pull something off that's really impressive to pull like a story like this off. So one question was, how do you handle spice? I'd say that's number one. And number two is, how did you identify this subject?
I handle spice really, really well. Shout out to my Middle Eastern dad for those genes. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We found our interview subject through, actually, we interviewed him from a immigrant/migrant mini market, and we got connected with him through the organizer, whose name is Alice. Yeah, Alex, who is just incredible to work with. She was so respectful to us, like filming in their incredible space. So we can't thank her enough, honestly.
Hi. So I have another question for you all. This has been so cool to see you all thrive and do such great work. But so going into further how you told the story, why did you decide on this angle? It was almost like a profile with a little bit of like touching on immigrants and why that's important. And so I wanted to hear from your perspective what that angle was like.
Yeah, so I mean, Yao talked about a lot of different things, so we had a ton to work with. I think one thing that we tried to do when we were making this is really focus not just on the business, but what it means from an outside perspective, like how it's related to current world events. So we tried to tie that all back to like immigration, how that affects people, and we had a lot of good, a lot of gold from Yao on that subject. So. Okay, thank you all so much.
Living here isn't easy. If you find the things that are worth living here for, then you'll begin to understand it as much as I have. That's one of the reasons why I've stayed.
Cameron Evans is the 23-year-old vice mayor of Tangier Island,
a small community in the Chesapeake Bay, whose ancestors are direct descendants of some of the earliest English settlers in Virginia. They continue to honor their traditions of crabbing and seafaring.
You get a sense of freedom by living here, be on the water, be in nature, just live in a very close, tight-knit community. But it's something that I didn't begin to treasure more until I was older. We've also seen a lot of land loss due to coastal erosion.
Their livelihoods are tied to the sea and to the coastal asset, whether it's tourism, whether it's fisheries, or whether it's businesses. Coastal areas are one of the most exposed. With the sea level rising and with the storm surges affecting their assets, they lose their property, they lose their infrastructure is eroded, people tend to move away.
Since 1850, the landmass has decreased by 67%, and according to the 2020 census, the population has fallen by nearly half since 2010.
So they're already climate migrants, but the numbers will increase over time if we do nothing about it.
In today's world, there's less and less watermen and less people wanting to stick in their own hometowns, especially this one, that it's very hard to, obtain a job for a career unless you make certain jobs like I've tried to do here.
He's the vice mayor, a boat captain, fisherman, tour guide, crabber, and a photographer who is recording the history and capturing the changes on the island.
I saw that things were changing, not staying the same, and I said, why not capture it for, myself and then future generations?
We need to bring the communities and the planners and other civil society and others together to make a collective decision.
I'm very hopeful that we'll get, protection from coastal erosion, but I want more than that. I want to see land restoration, rebuild back to habitat. I just hope for the future generations, if I could speak to them now, to try to appreciate Tangier as much as I have.
From PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs, this is Sabrina Tomei.
Hello, I'm Seven Jameson from Rowlett, Texas.
Hi, I'm Nuha Hussein. I'm a rising senior at Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Tomei, and I live in Fairfield, Connecticut.
So one thing I really enjoyed from this camp is the people and the memories. I did learn a lot from almost everyone, especially Nuha over here, who did a great job with editing. Can everyone get a round of applause for her? But a core thing I learned from this camp is that every single person here is talented, and it's really, it's crazy walking into a building knowing everyone has a skill set that I don't. So I like to write. So my hobby is writing about politics or anything else, but almost everyone here has a great skill of either broadcasting, audio, or some people might write better than me. So it's a bit threatening walking into this camp, but I get to learn things from people around my age.
I've learned so much. I think the biggest thing that I've learned was communication. Sometimes I struggle talking to people, and this was just a great opportunity for me to meet new people and stuff. Building relationships with all the other SRL students, building relationships with the mentors, having them to deal with our weird teenager slang that we have to explain to them all the time. But anyways, it was great. I've never been to DC, so it was cool to see all the cool monuments and stuff. So yeah.
The biggest thing I learned, I think, is that journalism is a lot more nuanced than it seems. The story isn't just about the changes in the environment, but it's about the people and the culture. And I think when it comes to that, it's about the people. And I think journalism is about the people in the world and informing the people from the people to the people. So yeah, we just got a lot of firsthand experience with that by going to Tangier Island and really talking about the culture and how changes in their environment is affecting that.
Great, and I think we have time for 2 questions. Yes. Wait, hang on for the mic.
I was ready to yell. I know climate stories can be really hard to tell because they can be sort of boring. So how did you make this interesting and get people to care about what was going on with these people?
So, okay, so I just want to say hi to Dr. Kamari. I hope you're watching. But to maintain interest in climate stories, you have to make it, what is it called? Tonight's engagement. We all are somewhat immigrant families, and the goal of our story was to talk about climate-induced migration because it's a small island and they're facing coastal erosion. And as Cameron has mentioned, people are continuing to leave. So to maintain focus with the audience, we want to grasp your attention towards the community, the people, and the Vice Mayor, Cameron Evans. He was a great person to interview, and his shop is amazing. I suggest all of y'all go to Tangier and have a blast. Great food, great people. That's not a joke. It's true. It was this great people. It was a very small area off Chesapeake Bay, but we had an amazing time.
So you told me that climate change was a very touchy subject on that island, and the locals did not want you to frame it that way. How did you deal with that, and how did that change your story?
More than just talking about the changes in climate, we kind of wanted to make it about how that is affecting people. I think oftentimes we see stories about the changes in climate, so we kind of wanted to shift it more towards about the people and how it's affecting the people on the island and this like really old culture. They had really old, they're like Virginia settlers, which was really cool to talk about. So we kind of wanted to move it more towards the changes rather than like the changes in the environment.
Thank you. You're done.
Barack, kick us off. Round one, fight.
Sadly, I'm not a full-time comic, and my modeling career has slowed down. This job for me is wonderful. I don't think anybody really chooses to play Trump. In my personal opinion, Trump plays a lot of people, so I figured that it was a good way to get back.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome here to the Washington Roast.
So the show brings together some of the DC area's most creative writers and performers and stand-up comedians in character as political deplorables from both sides of the aisle.
Our combatants will face off head-to-head, exchanging jabs and punchlines in 2 to 3 minute rounds.
No one in our show is a professional. You're getting Nancy Pelosi played by someone who's a barista by day.
At the time, I had like a little tiny afro, so I was like, I'll be Afro Nancy Pelosi.
You're getting Donald Trump played by a wine salesman. It just sort of came to my head. I'm like, well, there has to be a show where all these people that live in this area just get together and just drink a beer and just try to forget their problems on a Friday. That was really the genesis of how the idea came together.
I went to a very, very progressive school. I still have an uncle who is very much involved in not really progressive politics. So it was fascinating to watch my family interact over Thanksgiving and people having very hard opinions about soft issues.
I will say I am no holds barred on stage. I am not sensitive. I am pressing all of the buttons. Politics is so uptight that I run in the opposite direction.
Figured if the Little Mermaid can be black, why can't I?
I'm a Black woman in DC living below the poverty line, full disclosure. And that is not usually a voice that is always heard. I talk a lot about reclaiming my time on stage, which is not a Pelosi statement, but it is something that Black women need to be able to do. It's like stand up and reclaim their time.
Politically, people get very, very harsh with each other and quick to not even listen to somebody else's opinion. So I think putting the absolute emphasis on the sublime and ridiculous situations we live in maybe help people relax a little bit.
Comedy goes both ways. We're not exclusively hitting Republicans. We're not exclusively hitting on Democrats. That's part of the magic of the show. In fact, I'm constantly told by different audience members, I'm Republican, my partner is Democratic. We both had such a great time.
My entire family on my mom's side came to a show that we performed at Magooby's Joke House. My uncle is a staunch Republican, and he was laughing hysterically at everything.
Regardless of what anybody is going to do in November, how they vote, that they just can respect each other's opinions, regardless of what your political affiliations are. Everybody has a family. Everyone's just trying to live.
And I have a maybe foolish idea is that if we can laugh together, we can work together.
First, I want to say Elon Musk and Donald Trump are not here, but we do have Tim and John in the audience. So thanks for being here, guys. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Lang. I am a rising junior from the Bay Area, California.
Hi, I'm a rising senior from New Jersey, and my name is Navia Vasaretti.
I'm Miriam. I'm a rising senior in Oakland, California. Okay, I can start. So something that I think I will bring back with me to my film classes at school and journalism in general is editing is really a group experience here. I learned a lot from Kayla, especially. She taught herself Premiere Pro, which is really complicated. So I'm in debt to you because you taught me a lot. And I think I learned so much about putting together the story also. As you notice, like we didn't have narration in our story, but I think it flowed pretty well. And so learning how to put together the story in a way that, you know, draws people in. We have some pretty lovely characters who are the focus of our piece. And so that's how we tried to make people care and be invested.
So I think coming to the Academy with really little experience in broadcast journalism actually gave me such an amazing opportunity to learn a lot. And thanks to my incredible mentors, Krista and Anurag, and my group members, I was able to learn how to use a camera and how to work with audio, which was so incredible. And yeah, getting to apply my new skills to working with the Washington Roast and interviewing some of the members was just an amazing opportunity and so much fun.
How prepared I felt. I had been equipped with the experience and the knowledge to operate the camera. We had to plan the shot list together. How trusted I felt. My team left me to get the B-roll while they were doing amazing interviews outside in the comedy club. And also just finally how excited I was to bring this knowledge back home and to continue using everything you guys have taught me and to bring it back to California and to bring it into my future career, whatever it may be. So thank you for an amazing experience this week.
So if you were left to film a whole bunch of jokes that didn't make it into this short thing, do you have a good outtakes reel?
Krista actually insisted on screening all the clips before we watched them back, which I think is so funny. And Krista's like a loving, protective mom for our group. She helped us filter through certain jokes that Tim made that were interesting. So, do you guys?
Also, we filmed for 2.5 hours with Washington Roast, but then Tim also provided us with 2 shows, like full 2-hour shows. And so we felt overwhelmed, to say the least. But it was just a matter of, well, working with Krista's outtakes and then just cutting it down and seeing what we could work with.
But they were so funny.
Yeah. No, in cutting together the B-roll, I would just watch the show that Tim provided us with, and I was not doing my work.
See, you guys were the only ones to do a NAT package. What made you decide to go in that direction and not do narration?
We really wanted the story to flow for itself and let our interviewers, who are amazing subjects, tell the story for themselves. So using our incredible footage and also the show footage, we try to weave it together. Yeah, do you have anything to add?
I kind of spoke on this earlier, but I was a little bit hesitant about just having the quotes speak for themselves. But I think when we started putting together the quotes we wanted from the interviews on this big poster board paper, we saw that we didn't really need to add a lot. And our interviews, we were so prepared for the interviews that the quotes that we took out kind of lent themselves to telling the story.
I also just want to say these girls handled it, but Honor Rock told us that that's the most journalistic, top tier kind of way to go about these things. So I don't know, my first time doing this, but.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me. Third question.
I also wanted to note that all of the language that Tim used, the Trump character was not mentioned, correct? Just want to make sure. But I just want to say thank you for on behalf of us and the charities that we help run with Tim, that we really appreciate you all being there, and all the parents buying tickets to the next show, which is June 13th. But very impressed with all of you. I used to work in film, and I wish I had started as early as all of you have. I'm very, very professional, the whole group, and I'll let Tim talk now.
Thank you, John. I just, again, this was such an amazing group. The preparation and the interview questions was absolutely noticed and appreciated and just fantastic. Kayla, when you were interviewing me, I think you were bringing out parts of me that were part of the show that I didn't even necessarily realize and part of my intent. And then watching the other interviews take place with, one of my good friends, John, and also Bria, who unfortunately can't be here. But you guys, I was learning things about some of my close friends that, I didn't know anything about as the conversations were happening. And so one more round of applause for this group. Thank you. Incredible. Such a good thing.
Wow. What an amazing full stories that we had here today. Is just the preparation that it takes from the entire team, and also all the resources that we build completely for free. They're available for free for teachers, for students, for anybody. We get a lot of stations, PBS stations, that tell us we're using your materials for our producers to use. So it's definitely for those of you who are just starting to know about student reporting labs, we have a website called storymaker.org. All the resources are there available for you to be able to tell stories, to do journalism, to be able to use them in classrooms or in your professional life. So thank you all for coming. This has been an amazing night, and let's give one more round of applause for our students who have done an amazing job. All right. Good night, everybody, and thank you for coming.